for us, and I'm sure the Samoans are coming out to make sure that that's as difficult for us as possible.
Have you a way of managing that, just trying to keep that talk to a minimum?
Just staying on task as much as we can. You know, obviously at training it wasn't an issue, it wasn't until post-training, and so when we get down for the captain's run tomorrow, we will hopefully be on task. Once you actually get to a ground and you know the immediacy of a match, it tends to be able to focus the mind.
Joe, can we get your take on there's no reach for Rob Connie there, how are they, and your thought process on the team?
Yeah, Rob is he ran today, but was a little bit slow to pick up during the week, as was Pete O'Mahony, as was Reese, and so we've gone with the guys who could give us the best preparation into the game, and a bit of a mix. Obviously, guys like Gary Ringrose, who I think has been outstanding so far. He's played 3 sets of 80 minutes in just 11 days. You can't expect people to keep on keeping on when that's the case. So Robbie is fresh, and we're excited to have him in there. So it is a little bit about balancing the load as well, albeit in a huge game for us.
Joe, if the Scotland-Japan game doesn't take place, that will mean that you couldn't top the pool. So is there any frustration on your part for that? And World Rugby has been asked today about whether in that situation, in that scenario, it damages the integrity of the tournament. So just your thoughts on that as well, please.
Again, it's not something I can control. I only know what we need to do, and we need to get out and get a result. So, I think that it's a situation nobody wanted to have, and I know that there will be some teams, a couple of teams that are massively disappointed their game's already been abandoned. I know with the amount of people travelling to games that there are going to be supporters who are disappointed. There are certainly players, some players playing in their last World Cup. There's no bigger game than getting to play against some of the biggest players in the world game and missing that opportunity. So, I do think that from that perspective, that's disappointing, but from our perspective, all we can do really is what we can control, and as much as possible, that's what our full focus is on.
Rory, from a player's perspective, I'm sure you can appreciate how frustrating a situation like this is for sort of the players from Scotland and Japan.
I think it's more frustrating for the English, French, New Zealanders and Italians at the minute. Scotland, Japan, there's been no decision on it, and I think on some of the earlier points from our point of view that probably leaves it easier, because we go out, we play our game, and you assume the game goes ahead on Sunday, and if it doesn't, you cross that bridge when it comes to it. But look, it's incredibly frustrating. Joe touched on it. There'll be guys there playing potentially their last World Cup game, potentially their last ever game for their country, and to be denied that opportunity is frustrating. But at the same time, I'm sure the decisions weren't necessarily taken lightly.
Joe, what do you want to see from Typhoon and why we made his World Cup so far?
He's been really solid. He's been versatile for us. He's, I thought he carried well against Russia, albeit the ball was more and more through the game a bar of soap, so it made it very difficult. I think his ability to put pressure on the ball on the ground, his line-out work has been good. He gives us a little bit more height in the line-out. Probably not quite the speed that Pete has in getting up in the line-out. I think defensively he gets off the line well, and he's trained really well. And that's probably the bit that people don't see that does certainly have an influence in our eyes in making selections.
Joe, after 2 subpar performances, what do you need to happen on Saturday to get them under the system?
I think there have been elements in both those, as you described, subpar performances, where we've actually done some really positive stuff, and I think we've just got to make sure that is more consistently delivered. As I said, I think after 20 minutes to be 12-3 up against Japan, we were really happy with that start. we went into our shell. We got hesitant defensively after copping a couple of sanctions, and we've got to make sure that we stay on the front foot, that we keep working hard defensively, and on the other side, we've got to make sure we look after the ball a little bit better. As I said, it was incredibly slippery, but when it is incredibly slippery, you've got to make sure that you adapt your tactics a little bit, that you get a little bit more focused on looking after it rather than trying to play too freely, too quickly. I think we got ourselves into a bit of trouble in the Russian game, trying to chase that bonus point. Once we got to 3 tries, I think it took us about another 25 minutes before we got the next one, just because we made some super line breaks and then try to score immediately. And sometimes you just got to make sure when you're looking after the ball that you can retain it and keep the pressure on, keep the squeeze on, and not maybe over try or try too hard.
That composure you talked about, who produces that for you?
The experienced players very often. Keith Earls, I thought did well. He had a hand in both the last 2 tries. His offload to Andrew Conway for him to get away and score, and then again he was involved getting the ball back inside to Jordan Lama, who gave it back inside to Gary Ringrose to score the final try. Johnny, obviously, the way we started the game, within 14 minutes we're 14-0 up, with a good call from a set play and a nice ball through. So that sort of composure does come from those experienced players, and I think at the same time up front, the guys like Bestie, like Pete, those guys who call the line out, kind of I suppose set our scrum. Those guys again, they make sure that we're not getting ruffled, we're not over chasing, we're being as solid as we can be to give ourselves the platform to get whatever we need from the game.
Sorry, sure, yeah, we'll go here. Yeah.
Rory, you talked about the players' confidence having been dented. How do you change that mentality at this stage of the tournament?
I think there was aspects of the Russia game that we produced that you can take confidence from. There were aspects that we looked back upon that we created, and just with either a little bit of lack of precision or handling error, or maybe just not taking the option. But I think whenever you see it's there, I think the biggest thing you want is to know that it's in your control. And I think when we look back at Japan and the Russia games, the bits that we did well were very typical of us, and the bits that we didn't do well, we actually had set them up, or we just didn't follow through with some of the fundamentals that we do really well when we're on top of our game. So I think when you look at that, I think you take confidence from you're in a good place. You just need to execute better. And I think this week in training, we've had a proper normal week in training, Monday, Tuesday, today, and captain's run tomorrow, and you take a bit of confidence from that as well, because you get just a little bit more time to get through a few things. It's more about being able to execute it on the pitch rather than having to take it in a meeting or a walkthrough, which I think gives you confidence with people around you.
Do you work on that mental side of the game?
Yeah, look, I think it's a massive part of the game, and it's a game that certainly in the last few years has taken off. Certainly within our squad, I think physically it's the easiest thing to do. And there's numerous ways of doing it, and I think it is really, really important. You can get extra reps in and put yourself in positions that you maybe, to do it on a pitch, there's only so many times you can do it on a pitch without taking away from your performance on Saturday, whereas you can rep it over and over again in your head and try to see things.